All right, this is number 4 of our individual take-home workouts. Now, what you're gonna need for this is you're gonna need a towel. It needs to be as long as possible. You need a chair, a bench, a couch, something to sit yourself up on, as well as you need some sort of wall space. So set yourself up for success and have all of this close to whatever you're using to play this video on. All right, now just like always, you're gonna start out with your dynamic warm-up. From there, you're then going to play the first exercise, understand the cues and what you need to do. You will pause it, you will perform the reps and sets that are on the sheet, and then you will play it again for a description of the next. Don't take for granted that you know what's going on, even if it's a repeat exercise. Watch, understand, get better here as well. All right, let's get into this. Our first thing is going to be a Spider-Man push-up. These are going to be done nice and slow. You are going to be hands under chest. Don't start to get lulled to sleep with your hands coming in front of you. They got to stay underneath you. All right, my body's going to be completely flat, no curve, no butt up. I'm going to perform a regular push-up as my knee comes up to the side, making sure my head stays completely straight. A lot of people have the habit of doing this. I don't want that. I want your head completely straight on this. If you have difficulty, whether it be first set or last, obviously I want you to challenge yourself, but they can be done elevated to take your body weight away. Complex with this is going to be our Superman. Big thing on this, just make sure it's done nice and controlled. We want to come up, hands and feet lift simultaneously, pause, and then control back down. Don't do this. It's got to be controlled on the up and the down of the movement. You can pause and perform. Our next thing is going to be an alternate arm rear delt fly. Make sure you have good bend with your trunk being somewhat flat to the ground. Big butt, knee bend, arms are up, leading with your elbows. Shoulder blades are keeping them up. So I'm trying to pinch those shoulder blades as much as possible. I release one arm, it comes underneath, and then I re-engage. Release the other, re-engage, going back and forth. You want that shoulder blade to roll across that rib cage. Make sure the other arm is getting something out of it. Isometrically contracting, understanding where that scap needs to be. Your complex on this, it's going to be a body weight floor rub. Very similar to what we just did. It's going to involve a lot more core here. The width of your feet is going to determine the difficulty of this. So the tighter, the more difficult. Start about shoulder width and adjust from there. I'm going to engage my shoulder blade, bring it back down. Engage my shoulder blade, bring it back down. No rotation on this. Similar to when we do our stationary bear crawls, make sure those hips stay level as we switch from side to side. You can pause and now perform. Our next thing, we're gonna go back to push-ups. These are gonna be dead stop push-ups. It's gonna be a pause at both the top and the bottom. Then you can do these on the ground or elevated if you need to as you start to fail. I want technique. This is going to be both a push, but it's also going to engage a lot of posterior in this down. So I'm here, I pull my shoulder blades back and down, not shrugging up, back and down, getting a manual contraction in that back, and then I press up, hold at the top, being very aware of my spine, my core, my shoulder blades, back down. Again, they can be done elevated. Our complex on this, what we're going to do is grab that towel. You're going to be about shoulder width, starting at your chin. I'm going to pull the towel apart, almost trying to tear the towel in half. And then I'm going to press up, poking my head through. I'm going to continue to pull apart on that towel as I'm coming down as well. So on both motions, that towel needs to be pulled apart. Don't arch back. Be aware of where that spine's at. And again, we got to come over our spine, poking that head through, trying to get as much contraction by pulling that towel throughout the entire motion. You can pause and I'll perform. We're going to keep that towel here for this next series. Told you want as long of a towel as possible. This should be 75% of full movement. So we do a band pull apart. This is going to be an iso towel pull apart. we normally come all the way to here. We want to stop at about 75%. We want palms facing up, so rotate, supinate, get that pinky elevated as much as possible. And you're going to hold for 10 seconds in that 75% movement here. Don't shrug up. Pull back for 10 seconds, relax, and then reload again. Shoulder blades should come in and down. Make sure it's not elevating up as we get fatigued. Now the complex with this is you're gonna need that wall space now. You're gonna angle yourself into it. That angle is gonna be relative to your ability to do the exercise and your strength, but too much is not good because you're gonna end up shrugging up. 45 degrees from your arms to your body. I'm gonna keep my spine neutral, that includes my head and neck. I'm gonna push my elbows into the wall and stick that chest out, pulling those shoulder blades together. Your elbows will move slightly across that wall, but don't move too much because you're gonna end up lifting those shoulder blades up. And again, they need to be back and down if possible. You can pause and perform. We're going to now move into our arrows, T's, and Y's. We've done this before, but again, refresher, we've got to get that understanding of our shoulder blades. Face down, pinkies are up on the arrows. I'm going to go 5 reps where I have a pause, and then 10 reps where I'm going to go fluid. T's, palms facing down. Again, 5 with the pause, 10 fluid. You got your arrows and your thumbs are going to be up. Make sure on this, we don't lift our trunk or our lower body, it's just shoulder blades. Again, same concept with the 5 and then the 10. You can pause and perform. We now move into our lower body. We're going to start off with a sumo pause hop squat. When I say sumo, I want you a little bit wider than your normal squat position. You're going to come down about 1 inch below parallel, but make sure your muscles are holding you up. You're not in that full squat to where you're resting on your joints. So I'm here, toe, both little and big, and heel are in the ground, and I'm corkscrewing that ground to turn on that hip or that glute. Lower back is understood. Make sure your lean is where it needs to be. Shoulders are big, eye line is forward. So I'm going to be here. You can either have your hands in front or at your chest, even as if you're holding a barbell. I'm going to explode up and then right back down. As I hit, I got to cushion back in, nice, slow and controlled, back to that same down position. Big thing is when you come up, don't over exaggerate and do one of these. I don't want your lower back to be engaged, or I don't want to use your lower back to engage your glutes. I want you to use your glutes to engage your glutes. So come up, squeeze, try and get tall. Squeeze or clinch that butt without having to arch, hit, and then right back down for that 3-second hold with that. Your complex with this is going to be your cross knee drives. Hands underneath your chest, push up position. I bring that knee across and then back. Nice and controlled going through, being aware of that spine, including that head on these. Also being aware of where those hands are as we're starting to get fatigued in that upper body. You can pause and perform. For this next one, you can either use your chair or the wall for support. You're going to go with a single leg knee tap squat. So I'll hold on to this chair. I'm going to perform this on my left leg, big toe, little toe, as well as my heel in the ground. Trying to rotate slightly, although my toes forward, I'm rotating slightly. It's going to keep my knee out and keep that hip engaged. I'm going to drop my opposite knee to the ground and then come back up. My goal is to have consistent motion. So you're going to be able to start it off nice and slow. I don't want you to drop down. That's what the wall or the bench is for, to make sure that you're guiding yourself with consistent speed throughout the full range. So I'm here and then back up. Again, not just doing it, but understanding where your hip needs to be, where your knee needs to be. Most importantly, the point of contact in your feet. What you're going to do is you're going to complex this with some core. This is going to be a hover bicycle. Now, when you do these, you want to lean back as much as possible. Now, where you're going to actually fall back on some reps. I'm okay with that. And then you're just going to perform bicycle going back and forth. Again, I want you to lean back to where you're on the verge of falling back and have to come back up. Now, ideally, you want to be stuck in that hover position, but challenge yourself. You can pause and perform. Next, we have our single leg dynamic hip thrusts. These are going to be done on the floor. Not just doing it, but understanding it. That hip needs to be engaged. Keep your head back. This opposite leg is going to be straight out. I'm going to explode up and absorb. Make sure when I'm in that top position, just like I was with those Sumo dynamic squats, I get that butt clinch. And if you need to, if you feel your lower back is arching, put your chin in your chest and it'll prevent that back from getting too much curve on them. They should be consecutive, but don't mistake that for being fast. Nice and controlled, but it's fluid through. You're gonna do a forearm plank walkout as the complex with this. And when you do this, you're in that hover or plank position. I'm gonna walk out as far as I can, and then walk back, and that's one. Walk yourself out to the point where your lower back is almost ready to start caving in. You have the athleticism and awareness to keep it where it's at, and then come back in. Don't allow it to sink. That means you've gone too far. You can pause and perform that series. Our next exercise here is our single leg wall squat. When we do this, very important, like all of our squatting exercises, we have that good contact with our big toe, little toe, and heel in the ground. You're going to get, shin's gonna be vertical, you're going to get into a 3/4 squat. I don't want your full squat of this. Make sure your knee is out by your hip being turned on. Make sure your back is against the wall, including your head. You're gonna isometrically hold here. You're gonna go on both legs, and you're gonna complex that with a single leg dynamic squat. What's gonna happen here is you're just going to get a slight bend in that hip. You're gonna explode up and absorb back down, going consecutive reps. Big thing I'm looking for on this is to keep the same technique, we're just ingrained from the wall. So make sure that knee is not in, make sure the knee is out. Our hip is taking the brunt of the load as we hit the ground and slowly absorbing back down. You can pause and perform. Our next exercise is a plank hip rotation. You're going to be in that push-up position, back is flat. We're going to go internal rotation, nice and smooth. Then you're going to go external with that same side, trying to get as much range of motion as possible without losing that integrity of your lower back. You'll go right leg, left leg, and then you will stick into that same plank position, and you'll go with a plank extension, just walking your feet out as far as you can, and then walking back in with the same awareness as we worked on before of that lower back. I need you to challenge yourself, and not to the point where you get that sag in your lower back. Spine from our head to our tailbone needs to be neutral. You can pause and perform. Our last thing is going to be our stretching. This is 15 minutes. It needs to be relative to your weaknesses. This needs to be done. I need you to set a timer on your phone and perform a full 15 minutes of stretching. You can pause and perform.